Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today we're doing a Should You Back It for The Witcher Path of Destiny from Go On Board. Also, earlier today, I did a Should You Back It for Dice Stone X-Men Marvel Missions Co-op Deadpool. Please go ahead and check that out if that's a game that you're interested in. But with that, let's talk about The Witcher Path of Destiny. Although I should also note that disclaimer before that, even though this video is not sponsored and the Go On Board does not know I'm making this video, do take into account that I do work for GameFound, and that could produce any additional bias. Please be sure to be mindful of that. And with that, let's go ahead and talk about The Witcher Path of Destiny. With 26,000 backers, with 2 days left to go in the campaign, with $3.5 million raised, The Witcher Path of Destiny is doing incredibly well, and it's the next Witcher story from Go On Board. I have a lot of content on this on the channel, you can check it out. Well, a lot's relative. I have a review of The Witcher Path of Destiny, and I have an interview that I did with Go On Board yesterday. You can check all of that out, as well as I guess I covered it in one of my two back or not to backs a week or two ago. But with that, let's talk about everything going on in this campaign, the stretch goals, the additions, what makes sense to back, what's going to hold this value, and also whether it holds its value or not, what just makes sense for you to get if you're looking for a game to put on your table. And with that, let's talk briefly about what The Witcher Path of Destiny is. It's going to be a very brief overview because hopefully a lot of that's been covered in, if you watched my review, if you watched any of the tons of content on this game. But The Witcher Path of Destiny is a game from which you're going to be trying to determine how the various stories in the Witcher universe play out. The core box is going to come with 3 stories in it, each of them going to be separate stories from the Witcher universe, and then players are going to be using drafting cards to add to the hand, then playing cards in order to influence how the story plays out, and the way you play the cards and the way you combo different abilities and tokens and items and all that will determine how much you get experience that will level you up in the game, and how much you're getting victory points that will actually determine who wins the game. Each story will have their own slightly different aspects of how they play out, and each of the various asymmetric characters you have are going to have their own abilities that you can earn and unlock that will help you manipulate things to your advantage as you go through the system. That is a high-level overview of what this game is. It is a storytelling game, a degree of choose your own adventure, but really as a group choosing the adventure and trying to impact the story as you influence the story to your own benefit in this competitive experience. Past that, though, there's a ton of stuff going on here. There are stretch goals, there are additions, there are more stories, there are more characters, there are expansions. There's a whole bunch of stuff that has been added to the campaign to the point that you can go with something as simple as just getting this game at retail and get it down the road at retail. You can get it in the campaign, sure, but you can also get it down the road, save a few dollars and all that, and just get the retail game of this. Or alternatively, you might want, well, everything else. You might want the deluxe edition over here because the deluxe pledge is going to run you $85 and it's going to give you everything that's in the base pledge, but it's also going to give you the double layer player boards, the character miniatures. If you want those miniatures, they're going to be in the deluxe pledge. It's going to give you the tail tuck boxes, so all those various stories you're getting are going to have their own unique tuck boxes. It's going to give you character scoring miniatures. All these things tagged in brown are going to be what you get in the deluxe pledge if you back this on the campaign. And even if you get the standard pledge, even that standard pledge at $55, you're still going to be getting a bunch of stretch goals that are going to be exclusive, that are going to be separate expansions in retail down the road. They've added a ton of stories to the game, so you have more tales in the experience, and those are going to be things that are going to be in retail in separate expansions down the road that you have to pay for, and you're getting them in this campaign, not necessarily for free, I'm always hesitant to use that word, but for the price of your $55 standard pledge, you are getting extra content that you'll have to pay. You'll have to factor in the price point of all of that if you're getting it now over on GameFound or down the road at retail and hoping to get all of that there. They also recently announced the all-in pledge over here. The all-in pledge is going to cover a bunch of things, but before we go into, I'm trying to think the order we want to do this, let's cover the other things first. We'll come back to the all-in pledge. So we covered the $55 pledge loosely. We covered the $85 pledge, what you're getting and all of those things, the extra stuff you're getting as far as the premium components. And then past that, we have the Wild Hunt expansion, the Ronin standalone expansion. We have Geralt on Roach, which you can either pay $12 for, or if you got it in the first 2 days of the campaign, I think it's first 2 days, it might have been the first day, but it would have been free. You have the Legendary Monster expansions, and then you have the acrylic tokens, which I will say, by the way, I mean, this is just renders, of course, but these do look nice and shiny. These do look like fun tokens, but of course, the $30 extra, and they'll add to that, but they are going to give you a ton of these tokens for the game. As far as the expansions, the Wild Hunt expansion is going to be not, I think it says semi-co-op somewhere. I could be wrong. I believe it said semi-co-op at some point. I don't know if they've changed that. But this is going to be not a semi-co-op expansion, but rather it's going to be a one versus many expansion in which one player takes on the Wild Hunt, the other players go against them in the game. So it gives you a new game mode to play in this game in the Wild Hunt expansion. There's a full video. You can check that out. We briefly covered it in the interview I did with Go On Board. You can check that out as well. We have the Legendary Hunt expansion, the Legendary Monsters expansion. These are going to be things that are going to give you monsters that take over the various tales in them. You can have different monsters that can run the tales themselves effectively, turning the game into a cooperative experience where you're facing off against the monsters using the same core system but with a different approach and having the legendary monsters take on the other side as you go through them. You're going to have the Ronin standalone expansion. This is a very big deal to point out. This is standalone. It's not going to be in your your all-in pledge because of that. The acrylic tokens and the Ronin expansion are not going to be in the gameplay all-in pledge, but for $60 you can get the standalone game that's going to have the core concept of how this game plays out, but very different. There's not going to be tails. This game is going to be a bit more cooperative in the way you're incentivized to work with others, while not actually being fully cooperative. I would say more that you're incentivized to work with other players than actual cooperativeness in the Ronin game. It's going to be based on it's based on I don't know if it was a manga or something. It was something else that they added, and that in terms of the Witcher world, and they're taking that and bringing it to here, so you have more of a different look to the game, but it has some of the core gameplay elements being the same, while being tweaked to be very different. So it's going to give you overlap with the game system, while at the same time very much being its own beast. So if you want a standalone expansion for $60, that's going to be a little hard to get your hands on over here, that's going to be the Ronin expansion over here. And then we have, I think that's everything. I think that's all the stuff over there, past the stretch goals, which are a big deal, which we'll talk about the stretch goals shortly. Which I guess brings us to the all-in over here. The all-in is going to give you a few things. Let's go to the all-in over here. The all-in is going to give you, for $160, you're just getting two things. First of all is you're saving $5. Not a huge savings, but hey, if you're getting this stuff anyway, $5 is still $5. But more importantly, in the all-in expansion, this is something that Go On Board has done before, and something that works practically speaking, although doesn't always have people being happy about it. You're also going to get this exclusive all-in gift. So you're going to get this adventure over here, which is the, if you get the, why can't I find more on this? I thought there was more on this earlier. Why can I not find it all? I'm just going to click on over here. There we go. If you click over here, here we go. If you click on the Knock Before expansion, the exclusive all-in gift, you're going to be able to go ahead and get this over here, which is the miniature, but also some gameplay content around the game that representing the Wild Hunts, ship or whatnot. They're going to be the Nafka and the Wild Hunt expansion. You're going to be added to the gameplay, so you're getting some premium components and some gameplay content if you get the all-in, and only if you get the all-in, which does incentivize you to get the all-in if you're on the fence, but of course has people frustrated if they weren't interested in everything, and the only way to get this exclusive content is to get the all-in. It is a tactic that, practically speaking, works. It does incentivize people to go all in on the game, but it also has people sometimes frustrated because if they weren't sold on, maybe they didn't need the Wild Hunt expansion, maybe they didn't need the cooperative expansion, now it's kind of all or nothing to get your hands on that. So those are going to be the two things, a $5 savings and additional gameplay content. As far as stretch goals over here, let's go through all of these over here loosely from, reverse to beginning. They have a ton of things they've added to the game so far as more content. Again, a lot of this is going to be introduced in separate expansions. That is not that dissimilar to the approach that they took with the Witcher Old World, where they had a bunch of content being added to the game, but then they were separate expansion content you can buy after. Keep in mind, by the way, the Old World and the Path of Destiny are two separate gameplay experiences, both from the same publisher, both with the same IP, but otherwise very different games. So the first thing you're going to have is you're going to have more characters. We have more characters being added over here. We also have solo mode upgrade stuff over here. So a lot of the solo accessibility is enhanced and added to across the course of these stretch goals. You're going to have various Edge of the World envelopes over here. These are going to be envelopes that as you achieve all the different story endings, there's 8 possible story endings to each tale. As you achieve those, you'll unlock new content. Of course, you could pull that out early if you want. No one's going to really tell you, but just know for yourself that you are not engaging in the way you're supposed to engage with the game. We have more solo content over here. We have Grain of Truth new host mission cards. We have more solo options for some of the new characters that have been introduced. Some miniatures for some of the tales. We have a new token organizer. We have a new solo mode upgrade, the Grain of Truth solo mode over here. We have new playable characters. We have Letho as a playable character. We have more Voice of Reasons, more Voice of Reason envelopes over here, giving you more content. A quality upgrade for the finish of the cards. A new tale being added to the game. New player screens for that tale. New miniatures. We have some more content for that tale again. We have a quality upgrade. The stretch goal box is going to be added to give you all the stretch goals for the campaign. We have Yarpin as a new playable character. We have the metal coin over here as being added. We have more miniatures. We have Stragobor, Renfrey, and Renfrey Stragobor over here being added together. We have more solo modes, more the Law of Surprise, the Crimson Avenger, or whatever. We have the Law of Surprise, the Stitch playmat over here. We have more envelopes and more content. New tale, the Golden Dragon tale, and that's going to have its own giant Golden Dragon expansion. But first, let's go ahead and get the new playable character Rageous over here. We have the new giant dragon that's being added, so not giant's relative, but an 85mm dragon being added for the Golden Dragon tale over there. We have more companion cards, something that's being added to the course of the game, that companions can be added to any game to slowly mix up some of the aspects. Being added as one of the, when you draft the cards, it goes to the last card, and you're only going to see certain facets of each companion each game. We have Shana being added as a companion. We have metal coins. We have an exclusive card, Field over here, Marshall Windbag, so another companion aspect. We have the companion cards for Zoltan. We have a new tale, The Last Wish. We have new companion cards for Kara, new companions for Roche. We have for Milva over here. We have a new playable character, Jikstra. I never know how to pronounce them over here. And lastly, we have over here a new tale, Doppler, currently being added. And again, we still still have 2 days left in the campaign, but they're adding companions, they're adding characters, they're adding new playable characters, new tales, all of these things that you're going to be getting in your stretch goal box, which means for $55, even if you're not sure what you want, but for $55 for this campaign, you are getting a lot of content for this game. Which I guess brings us to the whole should you back it aspect of things. Should you back it? Should you not? What makes sense? Are you interested in this game? The first thing is going to be, of course, whether this game appeals to you or not. This game is going to be a very different game than The Witcher or The Old World, if that's a game you've enjoyed. I've played both The Witcher Old World and I've played The Path of Destiny, and while I enjoy both, The Witcher Old World to me is a fantastic, amazing adventure game, and The Witcher Path of Destiny is a very enjoyable, well-done card drafting game that is simple, accessible, and gives you enough things to be strategically rewarding, but also it gives you a lot of choose-your-own-adventure aspects, but it's a very, very different experience than The Old World. If you like one, you may not like the other at all. I mean, I reviewed this game, and I had a lot of people saying that, you know, thanks to the review, it helped them decide to back, but I had a lot of people saying that the review helped them to not back as well. Know what you're interested in, and as much as there's a lot of stuff being added here, some of it for a very reasonable price. Again, the amount of content you get for $55 in this campaign is not a small amount of content, but that doesn't help you if the game isn't right for you. So first of all, determine if this is something that is right for you or not, but then that's part of the whole should you back a financial aspect of if you're not sure, if you're on the fence and you want to go ahead and get this game, but you want to know, well, if I spend that $55 or if I go all in and spend the $160, what if it's not for me? Can I turn around and get my money back on this game? And the answer for the most part is a yes. For the most part, the answer on this is a hard yes for a variety of reasons. First of all, you have the IP over here. The IP of the game itself is obviously a very popular IP that has done very well for itself across their last game. It's done well across, well, everything nowadays apparently. But it's a popular IP that's going to help this game hold its attention of people who are interested in it to see if it's a game for them or not. But then a big part of it is also going to be the way Go On Board approaches their games. The way they approach their campaigns, they do give a lot of stuff in the campaigns, including exclusive content. I mean, that all-in miniature alone, the extra content you have for the all-in pledge, if you look up the copies of The Witcher: The Old World, the overall approach to this entire campaign is a very similar approach to the way they handled The Old World. And if you look up the content on eBay, on the BG Marketplace, on anywhere, that stuff is selling for significantly more than what people backed it for, because they gave people a lot of content at a good price with exclusive content that is so far remaining exclusive. If you check out my interview with them yesterday, I can't guarantee what will or won't happen over time, but they seem to say that exclusive content is exclusive. Even if they come back to crowdfunding with The Witcher Old World, the exclusive content from that campaign will not be available again. And if they stand by that, if that holds true, that's going to continue to help whatever exclusive content in this campaign hold its value over time as well. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, whether you don't like the tactic of putting exclusive content behind an all-in, and I understand if you don't, but at the end of the day, that exclusivity, that limited ability to get your hands on that content is part of what's going to help this be a pledge that does hold its value for the many people out there that want The Witcher Old World, for the many people out there that aren't currently looking at this campaign, but will come back to that campaign, you know, a year from now or 2 years from now as they find this content and see a game system they want. And some of the content, the only way to get it is to go on eBay and find someone selling their Old World pledge, which means if this is a game that's not for you, I'm fairly confident that it will hold its value both in the $55 price point because of how much you get for $55, but also in the all-in because of the fact that there is exclusive content locked behind, as well as a $5 discount, which again, not much, but something, as well as all that locked behind there. And so the overall should you back it, should you not, as far as the value aspect, is likely yes. As far as what you should potentially get if you're not interested in the value, if you're not talking about the holding its value, you just want to know what looks good for you and yourself. At the end of the day, there's a lot of content here, and it's very fractured in the way that it works. The $55 pledge is going to give you a lot of content. That's a big deal right there. You're going to get a lot of content there. But then you also have to question which expansions are going to add value to you, because you have a few different things over here. You're going to have the Wild Hunt expansion, which is a one versus many expansion. So if you're looking for a sense of competition while working with teammates, sure, that's going to add to it a lot, but maybe it doesn't add to your experience. It's hard to really say. The cooperative expansion is going to totally change. If you just want a cooperative Witcher board game, that of course for $40 over here, it's going to completely change the way the game plays, turning it to more of a cooperative experience for you, but for $40, nearly doubling the price of the game. And then we have the Ronin standalone game, which is going to give you more content for the Witcher universe, but in a very different system that doesn't integrate the same way. It exists here, it's on this campaign, but it's a very different standalone entity. So you have the Witcher Old World, you have the Witcher Path of Destiny, and then you have the Ronin, which is kind of the Witcher Path of Destiny, but also not really. And so I'd say for those looking for that kind of what should you get from all this content over here, the reality is the Witcher, the gameplay all in over here is giving you a fairly good price point of all the content combined if you are looking for all those experiences, especially with the extra content. If you're just looking to try out The Witcher, just get the deluxe pledge or even just the basic pledge and call it a day and see what the game system is for you. But it is very hard to give a normal recommendation on this game because the price point for even the all-in isn't that crazy. I guess I'd say I'd mostly recommend people pass on the Ronin expansion if they're trying to be conservative, but also if you're trying to be conservative, then it really comes down to whether the Wild Hunt and whether the legendary monsters appeal to you as a gamer, whether the cooperative mode or the one versus many mode appeal to you, because those are, practically speaking, as much as there's a good price point for the all-in, as much as it will hold its value, at $40 per expansion, that's the price of an entire game often. And so you have to question, are you going to add or benefit from those games enough that it's worth paying the price of 2 entire games to improve what The Witcher Path of Destiny is for you? So holding its value, I'm fairly confident the answer is yes on these, but as far as whether you need all that, it's a little hard to say, and the reasonableness of the price point for the all-in makes it a compelling conversation. I mean, even the acrylic tokens will bump it up to, to 190, which is a lot, but I mean, you can skip on the acrylics. You don't need the acrylics. They're nice, but they're not essential. And Geralt on Roach, if you missed out on the first few days, I mean, that's nice, but he's going to be the only miniature on a horse. Do you really want, like, him on a horse with everyone else being whatever? That one's definitely the easiest one to pass on if you didn't get it in the first few days. And that is everything. As far as the should you back it for The Witcher, The Witcher Path of Destiny, as far as should you back for The Witcher Path of Destiny, almost everything here will hold its value. Just with how well the campaign is doing, with the amount of content you do, and with Go On Board's approach to the way they handle crowdfunding, almost all of this will almost certainly hold its value. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.